And the defense calls its first witnesses today to try and prove that Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson had nothing to do with the murder of Crystal Rogers. It is our top story at 5. Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. New testimony today trying to establish an alibi for Houck and for Lawson. The defense called another raccoon hunter to the stand. He was also near the Houck family farm that day and disagreed with earlier witnesses, saying he didn't see a white Buick on the property that day.
And jurors heard another expert who testified that the cell phone records putting Lawson on the Bluegrass Parkway could be wrong. The first Houck family member also taking the stand today. The jury had more questions for Brooks Houck's sister than any other witness. Shay McAllister's joining us live in Bowling Green right now. And Shay, we're talking about Rhonda McElvoy. She's Brooks' sister, and she was asked some very pointed questions about her whereabouts on that last day Crystal was seen alive, July 3rd, 2015.
Yes, she was. She told the jurors that she was in Louisville that day with her husband and their 3 kids. She said they were visiting the Kentucky Science Center, that they took multiple pictures in the Kentucky Science Center, and that they also took a picture outside at the giant slugger bat, which we all know is right across the street. Well, the juror had a question for her saying, okay, well, if you were in Louisville that day, did you stay there that night? She said, no, we didn't stay that night. We went back to Bardstown, and they asked, well, when did you get home? And she couldn't give a complete answer on that. What she did say is that she remembers leaving the museum right around 7, and she said it's about an hour to get back home to Bardstown. Doug and Connie?
That the Houck family farm was also a topic of conversation today. So what did his sister tell jurors about the property?
She was able to paint a picture of what this property looked like back then. She said it was a big rural farm area. There was a white farmhouse there. There was a big metal barn that Brooks used to store things like flooring and bathtubs for the houses that he would flip. And then there was a little wooden barn that she said was very run down right behind the White House. She also said that they did not have hogs in 2015, but they did have what she described as little pink pigs with black spots on them. They showed a picture of the pigs, and they certainly were not hogs, but they certainly weren't little. They looked like they could have been 40, 50-pound pigs.
Now, the grand jury recordings were such a big piece of information when they came out years ago. We won't forget that. Did the attorneys ask her why she took that recorder in and secretly recorded those that grand jury testimony, Shay?
Yes, they did. And her answer was simple. She said she was paranoid. She said her family was getting hit with tons of threats and accusations. In fact, she was so nervous about what she called a lot of finger pointing at her family that she and her husband actually packed up and moved to North Carolina later in the year in 2015. They have since moved back. They now live on the Houck family farm, and they moved back in 2020. But here's what she had to say about those recordings. She said that she wanted to make sure she knew what she said and what she didn't say. She wanted proof of what she had said. And the prosecutor pushed her a little bit to say, well, why did you push back? Because on the recording, she's heard telling Brooks that she doesn't want to take the recorder into the room. He says, well, why did you push back if you wanted that proof? She said, well, I don't remember doing that. He shows her the transcript of it. Even then, she said, I still don't remember that. Interestingly, the prosecutor also asked her, did you know that all of your family members took recorders as well and they were all found together? And she said no. She said that she had no idea that all of her family members also took recorders in until many years later when it was revealed in Brooks Houck's arraignment. And then she says the first time she found out is when she saw it on the news.
Shay, thank you very much. We want to let everybody know that in just a few minutes right here tonight at 5:30, WHAS 11 News legal analyst Nick Mudd is going to be joining Connie and I here. We'll be asking him a lot of questions about today's testimony. As the judge also announced in the courtroom today, by the way, that the jury could get this case by next Tuesday with closing arguments on Monday. He sort of laid out a loose timeline of how this case could be progressing now. And at 9 tonight, I'll be back with Nick, Shay, and Alexandra Goldberg on WHAS 11 Plus as we bring you our 30-minute special wrap-up. It's all new. To watch it, download for free and watch on your TV right here tonight at 9. Now, the big trial in the country today, a split verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs federal criminal trial, a jury acquitting him on the most serious charges, sex trafficking and racketeering. The judge today allowed him to be released on bond.
but they denied his release before his sentencing date. He's facing up to 20 years in prison. Combs had pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense argued the women were willing participants and all sexual encounters were consensual. Here's the full breakdown of the verdict. Combs was found not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. But the jury found Combs guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, a hearing is ongoing at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to decide whether or not more on his release, and both sides are making their cases to the judge.
Right here tonight, a second arrest has been made after a man was killed at a bar fight in Louisville. It's that bar called the Corner Tavern Bar. 30-year-old Ronnie Watkins, and Ronnie Watkins there, as you see on the screen on the right, was arrested yesterday and has been charged with murder. His bond has been set at $250,000, the same as his co-defendant, 29-year-old Christopher Foley, who's also charged with murder. Watkins' court date is going to be set for July 10th.
LMPD made significant arrests during a drug bust this week. 3 men were charged with trafficking meth, marijuana, and fentanyl. Malachi Daly, Antoine Daly, and Joshua L. Studdard were arrested after a search of a home on Floyd Street. Now, that same area where a shooting happened this weekend, 2 men were shot at a large party in Old Louisville. Detectives highlighted how neighbors helped in this case. They've been investigating this home for a while because of tips from the public. That allowed them to build a case and apply for a search warrant. Inside is where they found the drugs, guns, and cash.
Humidity a little bit better, but it really didn't matter. It's really hot out there, folks, and that sunshine, those clouds cleared. Connie, I got to say, it's nice to see the sun after a while.
It actually is.
Cloudy and rainy June.
I know. It's nice not to have any rain out there today, Mallory, even though we needed it from time to time. I'm glad we don't have it today.
Right, and we are tracking quiet conditions all throughout our 4th of July. So exactly what you expect for the 4th of July. Lots of sunshine, lots of heat, but thankfully no rain to really dampen any of your outdoor plans. Dew points, they're still in the 60s, so there, of course, is still some mugginess in the air, some of that summer-like humidity, but not the tropical air that we had for several days on end with those dew points in the lower 70s. That's all thanks to the front that swung through the area yesterday. Right now in Louisville, we are sitting in the upper 80s. Our dew point is down to 60 degrees, so our feels like temperatures are the same as our actual air temperatures. Winds coming in from the northwest around 9 miles per hour, so there is a light breeze, but of course no rain to track, just a few clouds that have been filtering in from the north and northwest through the afternoon. So if you're wanting to grill out this evening, it looks like some nice weather to do so. Expect temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, mostly sunny, seasonally hot with some light winds as well. Temperatures overnight tonight will be dipping back down into the 60s outside of the city, lower 70s in Louisville under mostly clear skies. And as I mentioned before, we are expecting high pressure overhead here locally through the 4th of July. That will keep us dry and also keep us seasonally hot. We'll talk about our local forecast and your travel forecast. That's coming up shortly.
We can choose to side with the illegal aliens, unelected road bureaucrats, and fear-mongering from the America left, or we can choose to side with the American people.
Our Republican colleagues are pushing a bill that would throw their constituents under the bus, a bill that flies in the face of everything they claim to stand for, all because Donald Trump wants a bill signing photo op by the 4th of July.
Members of the House of Representatives have spent hours today debating President Trump's tax cut and spending plan. The bill narrowly passed the Senate yesterday, you may remember, and several House members appear skeptical of supporting the Senate changes, putting Trump's July 4th deadline in jeopardy.
Well, this all comes as Kentucky's healthcare systems are closely watching that bill that would cut billions of dollars in funding from programs like Medicaid. And
today we're getting answers into exactly what this would mean for the average Kentucky patient on Medicaid. Isaiah Kim Martinez is in studio with more. So, Isaiah, what did you learn today?
Well, Connie, Doug, we wanted to know what would actually change for Kentuckians and their health care. One health and public policy expert told me he doesn't think the president's bill will cause major issues with eligibility, but he says rural hospital access, that's a concern.
I would say, oh, it makes me feel great. I'm not on Medicaid anymore. Why should I care? Except millions of people in this state still are.
Angela Hopperton of Louisville is invested in the conversation around Medicaid's future. The program provided her health insurance for 2 years.
When you cut this program and gut it the way they're doing, people are going to get hurt and people are going to die. So that shouldn't be a partisan issue.
Starting in early 2026, Kentucky would see a 10% decrease in funding for a Medicaid model the state uses to pay health care providers. That's if the latest version of President Trump's big beautiful bill, including billions of dollars in cuts to Medicaid, passes the finish line. Mark Birdwhistle is the Senior Vice President for Health and Public Policy at UK.
I think this change, if it lives from the Senate, and if the House were to adopt it, it will cause us to reassess everything that we have in our planning horizon.
Shelbyville Hospital, seen here from our Sky 11 drone, generates more than $36 million in operating revenue and has no plans to close, according to a U of L Health spokesperson. But we're told if this mega bill passes as is, hospitals across the state will be forced to consider significant changes in how healthcare services are delivered. Now, Kentucky Senate President Robert Stiver says these aren't cuts to Medicaid, his words. Instead, he says the program won't be expanding as quickly. Doug.
Isaiah, thank you.